Hi everyone, it's Lizzie here and welcome to the next episode of Property Elevator, What Happened Next? We have Nicholas and Craig on the couch today. Thank you very much for joining me, gents.
No. Pleasure.
So we're going to go a little bit back actually, and we're going to talk about your experience on the show and the deal that you first brought.
Yeah, it was a residential deal in St Albans.
Okay.
And it was really funny when you did the pre-interview, because you said, how far have you travelled? And I let you in, about a mile in that direction. Where's the deal? It's about 2 miles in that direction.
Right.
It was really close to where the filming studio was there.
Yeah.
But it was a residential deal. And I remember John having a go at me because it was like, you're paying retail. It was like £800,000 for a 3-bed semi in St Albans. And he's saying, that's really, really expensive. But in my head during the interview, I'm thinking, that's really cheap. For St Albans. Yeah. And the deal we were going to do was put an extension on the side and a rear extension and convert it from a 3-bed into a big 5-bed.
Nice.
And then it would be worth about 1.2 to 1.3 million because St Albans prices are absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm. And so did you have multiple angels wanting this deal?
Well, no, that was the interesting thing. John had a go at me about how much the place was going for. Ranjan had a go at me on the show, which is really unusual. He said, you've done my commercial cause. Why didn't you bring a commercial deal? And it got all the way through. 4 of them had dropped out. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to look like a right Wally on national telly. And then Nick
there
at
was
the end.
little Nicholas in the
last one
corner
left.
waiting to speak last. He does that sometimes when he's got a little clever trick up his sleeve. He keeps quiet. Wait till everybody else has their turn and then he pounces, right?
And then his line was, I love it when all the other angels have missed a trick. He said, I think you're very investable and I'd like to set up a business with you. And we now have Gallant Developments as our JV business.
Brilliant. Do you want to explain in a bit more detail what's been going on?
Yeah, I mean, what I saw in Craig was, the opportunity to start a business. I like to do deals on a bigger scale and try and do more than one deal. Mm-hmm. We can all do one deal. Mm-hmm. But I think once you put all that effort into building a relationship, it's good to try and, take your learning experiences and plough it into making something better. Otherwise, you're just going backwards.
Yeah. Did that first deal go ahead in the end?
No, I can't remember why. It was just the numbers didn't quite work.
It was partly the numbers, but partly about the person, because you have to bring a deal to the table, and then it was taking too long to get everything sorted, and then the vendor pulled out of it.
Okay.
But as I said in the show, this was just an example of what I can bring to the table. Mm-hmm. And ironically, since then, we've gone on to review so many different commercial sites and residential sites.
Mm-hmm. So that one fell out of bed then, but what was the next deal?
I'll let Craig tell you. It was an exciting bank opportunity, which we actually won the offer on. We had an offer and was accepted.
A bank?
Yeah.
A bank.
Yeah,
where was that?
It was in a tiny little village called Wimslow, which is halfway between sort of Oxford and Bletchley. And it was following the new infrastructure changes. Everybody is aware of things like HS2, but not many people are aware of this new train line that's actually going from Bedford all the way through to Cambridge. And phase 1 was Bedford to Bletchley. Phase 2 is then extending to Bedford, and then phase 3 takes it on. And this town was the only town in the UK that's having a brand new train station being built. So we put an offer in, went through to best and final offers. And on the Friday, the commercial agent said, yeah, you've won. You've beat everybody else. We put it all out on our social medias. Hey, we've bought a bank. Somewhere we're going to put all our money that we're going to make. And the agent then said, we'll send all the paperwork over on the Monday. And then suddenly by Tuesday evening, we realised we hadn't seen any of the emails. So we started chasing. And then it turned out that the vendor had then sold it out of the process to somebody else for 10 grand more than what we had paid. So we'd given like the top market value for the property. And it just goes to show you, nothing is sealed until you've actually signed on the dotted line.
100%, yeah.
So we're absolutely gutted by that one. But it taught us a very good lesson. Don't get emotional about properties.
Yeah.
Now, this looked like it should be listed, but it wasn't actually listed. And we actually, I always say that everybody has a plan A, but there are 26 letters in the alphabet, so you have multiple plans. And on this one, the idea was we were going to convert it into multiple apartments and then run it as service accommodation for the first 3 years because of the fact they were building this new train station.
Yep.
They were expanding the industrial estate and they were building 800 new homes in this particular town. So we
had
looked
lots
at all
of
the infrastructure
potential
behind.
workers as well to rent it in a service accommodation
it was a cracking
basis.
deal. And
a great little deal.
Because of that, we got market tested along with a load of other people bidding.
Yeah.
And that was all the process was designed for.
What a shame. So
the
no, then
first
a no.
3 years would have been serviced accommodation, but we would have designed it in the way that after the major infrastructure projects had finished, we'd have maximised the revenue stream from there, and then we would then sell it as owner-occupier flats onto people.
Well, what a shame that one fell out of bed as well.
Yeah.
But
we're tenacious.
was it third time lucky?
Next deal.
Gallant means to be bold and brave, and we carry on. And
Love
we
that.
challenge.
Love that.
So we found another interesting deal in Leighton Buzzard.
Okay.
So I live in St Albans, which is
Okay.
prime commuter belt straight into London. It's like 19 minutes on the fast train into St Pancras. Well, Leighton Buzzard is on the next parallel line, so
Okay.
it's 21 minutes straight into Euston on the fast train. So it's quite a good area for things, but the capital costs are significantly cheaper than St Albans.
Okay, interesting.
Anyway, we found this particular site, and it just happened to go on Rightmove, and it came up. It literally just come back to the market, and it had a really weird history because it had been sold 6 times over the previous 2 years, since unfortunately the old lady that lived in there passed away, and the family were trying to sell it, but they could never complete the conveyancing because of an issue over the bridleway. So it was along this particular road, and
So the access to it, you
Yeah.
have to go across a bridleway to get to the drive.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was no official right of way. There's no highways.
Also
rights
very
on
interesting
there.
as well, gents, that you found this on Rightmove, because everyone always goes on about off-market deals and how
Well,
you've
no-
got to negotiate with vendors.
Yeah, but some of the problem properties end up on Rightmove because they haven't
because
sold
this
anywhere
can't
else.
sell, yeah.
And they've fallen out of bed multiple times. So sometimes stuff on Rightmove is
It's
okay.
really
You can't
good.
say Rightmove's no good.
Yeah.
You know, either it's come on Rightmove for the first time because that's where naturally most house deals or small plots often can go. So you've either got to be quick on Rightmove, or it's been on there for ages, it's got a problem, but are you the people to fix it?
Yeah.
And in this
I mean,
case,
normally you
we
can
were.
We
you can
were.
run a filter where you look at how long a property's been on, but I just happened to look at it on how quick, and it had literally come back on the day before.
Right.
But the interesting thing, there was all this assumption about where the bridleway started. Everybody assumed it's where the tarmac stopped, and that's the start of the bridleway. And that's why conveyancing solicitors for these previous 6 buyers couldn't ever prove that they had a right of way, even though we had signed affidavits from the 3 children of the old owner, who that's where the name came from. It was Lynn, Carol, and Ian, and if you take the first 3 letters of each of the children's name, it gets Lynn Carrion, and that's the name of the building that's on there, and it's what we call the SPV company underneath, so Lynn Carrion Limited.
Wow. So how did you mitigate the issue then of the bridleway?
Well, we read the law. So if you actually find out, I think it's something like the 1972 Road Traffic Act, where it tells you it's illegal to drive a motorised vehicle on a bridleway, read the very next paragraph, which actually tells you you are actually allowed to take a motorised vehicle over the first 15 yards for the purposes of parking on your plot. So we knew straight away
Brilliant.
that we could do it. Then to cut a long story short, because there's lots and lots of complications behind the scenes on this one.
Months of negotiating with highways officers.
Oh, God. And rights of ways
Private-
officers and
private
bridleway
pay
people,
officers, yeah.
equine societies, all about it. It turned out that there's a thing called the definitive map. Every parish council that runs a programme have a definitive map officer, and this is where all planning applications get controlled over this whole thing. That in the 60s, when all these houses along the main road were built, they never updated the bridleway. So actually, the bridleway started at the main road. And so all the houses, the 20-odd houses down this road, have technically been breaking the law for the last 55 years.
Wow.
But everybody assumed it's where the tarmac stopped. And then just beyond our site, they've installed 3 bollards so people can't drive beyond our place.
Wow.
But it's all
That
these
just goes
assumptions.
to show as well, like just going the extra mile and doing that extra bit of due diligence and actually reading things
Yeah.
that most people would just
Assume.
shove to the
Problem
side.
solving.
Exactly.
It's putting the developer's mindset to it, whereas home buyers don't want that hassle or that risk. Developers, you know, and also Craig saw the opportunity of the plot next to this. So this is not just this house; it's got a huge plot next to it. So what we've actually done is turn deal 1 into deal 1 and 2
Brilliant.
because we've split the title and we've got planning for a single house next to it now.
Brilliant.
So
Well,
that's
that wasn't the first plan. It's literally the smallest house on the biggest plot on
Okay.
this very affluent road.
Okay.
And our first plan was actually to build 2 4-bedroom houses in the back garden. It was that big.
Wow.
That was your first plan.
Yeah.
That wasn't
But
my first
unfortunately-
plan. So I said, there's no way you can
That was
get
your
that.
first idea.
No way you can
Okay.
get
It was
that.
also the
But
council.
You found out
The
after a
council
little
have
while.
contrary policies. So they have one policy that says you should optimise the use of your land, which is part of the NPPF, the National Policy Planning Framework, which all councils are meant to abide by. But they have a separate policy that is just a central Bedfordshire one, where they will resist backland development. So we knew that it would be a challenge. We already had the challenge of the bridleway access, and then the challenge to try and get two in the back. We had CGIs all produced to sort of show people what it looked like.
Yeah.
So we ended up changing the plan, and then we're building a 5-bedroom, 2,000 square foot house to the left of the existing property.
Okay, so you've renovated
With
and
almost,
refurbed that
it's-
first one.
It's been a long battle behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And
as is anything.
This is anything. It took 11 months. So you've got several months before getting all the reports that you need, like highways, ecology, topographical surveys, all the lay of the land, etc., plus all your architect's drawings. So there's several months preparing this, which nobody really goes on about the cost and the delays. And then it went into planning, and because of the controversies, it just went into 11 months to finally get the approval. So it was a big celebration when we got the approval. And then they whacked 20 conditions on the planning approval, 8 of which are preconditions, one of which is where the existing building is, we had to dig away the earth to make parking from in front of the existing building because we were taking away the previous parking for where the new site is going to be.
Okay.
They're sharing the parking between the existing house and the new build.
Okay.
basically. Yeah.
So are you done with all the conditions now?
No,
No?
we're just about to. It's a long story because we've had another site in between, which Craig mentioned in a minute. And we're coming back to that now.
Yeah.
Having
Okay.
done the
So
third
it's
site.
practically
Okay.
finished the refurb of the existing property. So the second fix on the electrics have been done. The new bathroom's in. The kitchen, the chap is literally finishing it off today as we speak.
Nice.
So we've finished site 3, which is hopefully completing the next few days.
It was meant to exchange today, and I keep looking at my phone to see if that's all gone through.
And you're 2 years down the line now, really, of a working relationship together.
Yeah.
And this just goes to show that good things take time.
Yeah, I mean, potentially got 3 sites effectively now,
Yeah.
either sold and 2 ready to sell within a year if we build it out.
Yeah.
We've also been trying to sell that plot
With the planning.
So just take a quick win on that.
Yeah.
The market's been really tough and that's not happened. So having done site 3, which we'll mention in a minute, we've now come back round to have a look at this again. If it doesn't sell in the next couple of months, we'll build it out.
Build it.
Which is fine because we'll get more profit from it.
Yeah.
And by the time that's finished in sort of 12, 18 months time from now, that'll be worth X amount more as well.
Yeah.
So you have to, timing is critical. And I think we all learned a lesson, on the first site, trying to get the 2 in the back. We were hoping we'd get that. We sort of said we didn't think we will, but we went with Craig because it was his first site and we wanted to max it out. We wanted to try.
Yeah.
We didn't get it. And I think we all learned a lesson, like you've got to be very realistic with planners. They're very conservative and they're slow. And when you go for something even mildly contentious, even if we got it, they would have slapped so many conditions on that.
Yeah.
So, it is that sort of is what it is. But we've got a great new build house to build out now.
Tell me about that
So,
then.
When we finish it, it's going to be a great profit margin.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
effectively, by the fact we're refurbing the existing house and uplifting the value there, we're actually going to rent out the house for the first year because you're not going to get maximum value with a building site next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we cover the cost for there, refinance the cash out of that one that will then pay for the
build
for
of
the
the
new
second.
one.
Clever.
And then when they're both ready, we then put them both to the market, and hopefully the market will pick up in about a year's time.
Nice.
So it's a neat way of doing it. So
It's also working with the market, isn't it? It's key. I mean, even in my development business, we've kept our last 4 major sites, over £10 million worth of property we've had to hold on to for the last few years because the market's not ready
Just
to
not
sell them
ready.
at the right
Yeah.
value. So we let them out, they're fine, they cover the mortgage, they make a little bit of revenue,
Yep.
and we'll just sit on those till they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the point, I think, in the next 12 to 18 months where the market's ready to take decent prices again, hopefully.
Yeah.
Touch wood, no more black swan, crazy COVID, wars,
Oh God,
Brexit,
please no more.
Hyperinflation, interest rate rises, and change of government.
It's been interesting, politically and economically across the last couple of years. It's been a challenge.
Yeah, you could say that
So
again.
if you follow us on our socials and on TikTok and Instagram, you'll see loads of stuff, particularly this new build.
Yeah, you love your TikTok, don't you,
Oh
Craig?
It's been,
Craig's got some pretty viral TikToks, I must say.
yeah.
Done very well.
Well, we'll talk about the next project, which was
Yes,
in
tell me,
Andover.
Project 3, is this correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Project
So
three, yeah.
when you look at it, it's like it's a new build. Built in 2015-16.
Right.
And you think, well, as developers, how do you actually earn any money from that?
Yeah.
Well, the secret is what happened inside. So apart from one of the TikToks that I did, somebody shared it on the Spotted in Andover Facebook group that only has 30,000 subscribers. Well, that then was shared onto Facebook and it then hit 1.5 million views.
Wow. It went viral.
It went viral. It's because
In
what
Andover,
happens...
that's a pretty big deal. That's about 99% of
We are
Andover's
so
population.
famous in Andover. Well, Andover's only got 50,000
We're like local
population.
celebrities now when we go there.
And like all the contractors like,
Some
oh, you're
gastronomic.
working on that house.
Yeah.
It's like famous. But the thing was, is when you walked through the door, everything had gone. Like no ceilings, no walls,
No kitchen.
no toilets, no kitchen.
So it was just a shell,
Yeah,
Complete
but
practice
outside it looked fabulous.
right?
But the moment you walked through the door, it's like, what happened?
Wow.
And it turned out that the person who bought it and moved in and lived in it for 2 years kept finding problems with this new build. And every time he peeled a layer back, like an onion that was like rotten, he kept finding a problem and he peeled another layer and another layer. The bit in the middle we don't know the detail of because they're under NDAs. But they went through a 5-year legal battle, finally got some compensation, and they were living in rented accommodation locally.
Oh,
Sound like they went through hell.
that, yeah.
Which is a shame.
What a stressful
Yeah.
scenario to be in.
So they'd had a horrible time, but then they'd got their compensation so they could move on with their life.
Yeah.
But they had this shell of a house.
Right.
So we then, we...
You'd think, why would we want to buy this?
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
Craig bought it, we were like, Craig, you must be nuts. No, I'm kidding. We're developers as well. We walk straight in and just go, well, this is easy to fix.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, a home buyer's not going to want to do it. A main massive national house builder's not going to want to get
No.
their hands dirty with that and then have to resell it as a second-hand property. They just want to sort of sell it on the, I guess, developer to developer, business to business kind of market.
We bought it in the
What were the
October.
problems? That's key.
Well, we bought it in the October, and it was... The really weird thing was it was already a dry house. It was completely topped out. So the windows were in, the roof was in. It was all internal stuff.
So for just internal, do you still need planning permission?
No.
No.
We just needed, we did go and get building controls involved.
Yeah.
Make sure it was passing all the relevant checks.
Yeah.
Some of the issues were the padstones, weren't they, in the roof and the way the roof was supported. They'd sort of bricked under some of them rather than having the correct
Concrete padstones.
concrete
and-
padstones
My God,
and things
who
like that.
were these
I mean,
developers?
we couldn't possibly say on camera, does he?
But you do,
But
you
it's
did
also
find
social
out who
He's
it
a
was.
national house builder. It's very well known.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, some of the things
And
we
there
found.
were things like roof ties, which are like metal brackets that kind of go into the wall onto the rafters to stop the roof from lifting off in high winds. Which is actually, I mean, the whole structural issues cost us less than £6,000 to fix.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't forget the stairs.
Oh yeah.
The stairs were not supported.
Well, there was a batten, like it was about an inch.
This big batten holding up the entire platform of the stairs up to the first floor.
Well, that was the first thing that the chap discovered, that when he went up the stairs collapsed on him. And when he then went into the cupboard underneath, it was literally like a tiny batten was
How
supporting the
do
structure.
these things get through? How do they get away with them? Where was building control when they were building
well,
it?
this is-
control will come in on a site, right? And they would have signed off these house types
Yeah.
with building control. And I think the reality is, on a site of hundreds of homes, building control are not going to check every single
single
home
one.
and every
Mm,
single
of
bit.
course.
They're going to have signed off a house type, and
Yeah.
they would have seen one or two house types. They maybe come in.
Well, they
once
were
or
doing
twice.
various inspections.
Yeah, and
So, but they will do an inspection across the entire estate where they were
Yeah.
building like 1,200 homes.
Right.
So they will see a house at the beginning, they'll see a house halfway through, and a house towards the end. And as long as the ones they saw at the time, so you have this NHBC contract, which is completely different to building an individual house where your local building control or an independent building control company will go in detail through every single stage. And
So have you began the renovation?
it's finished.
It's finished?
Yeah, it's going to exchange this week, hopefully.
Oh, you
Well, I was
haven't-
hoping today.
It's been hoping the last
You have
few
a
weeks. It's
buyer.
been hoping today.
Oh,
It
so
really is.
drinks on you after,
Close.
gents.
Yeah.
Well, we actually had a buyer
These are gin
3
and
months
tonic.
ago.
Yeah,
This isn't water. It's a gin and tonic.
We actually had it all sold several months ago, And it was literally at the stage where we were about to exchange, and then the person at the beginning of the chain dropped out. So then there was a person in Malden in Essex who was then going to buy this lady's house in Andover, and then she was going to buy this house. And this is one of the issues when when you develop big houses. This was a 3,000 square foot executive home, and then you're at the end of a longer chain.
Yeah.
And the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And unfortunately, 3 months ago, the person at the beginning dropped out, and the whole chain then fell apart. So we had to go back out to the market while we're still on bridging loans, paying for things. So it's cost us.
Don't underestimate as a developer. And I say this to a lot of my clients when I'm mentoring and consulting, don't underestimate the sales period, especially at the moment in a slow market.
Yeah.
If people are going out and getting bridge loans for 18 months and the build is sort of 14 months, it's probably not going to be enough. Make sure your term's right.
Yeah.
And we've had enough term. We've negotiated extras, and we're okay with the finance. Yeah. But certain lenders, aren't so flexible, and thankfully we've had another buyer and got another, I forget how much it was, another 15, 20 grand more this time round.
Well, we ended up getting more, but because we documented it all through TikTok, I think it was about 140 different TikToks, and some of these went viral in their own rights. It's really weird. There was one with a plumber, and he was saying, well, I do 15 wraps of PTFE tape on the radiator towels. And then there must have been every plumber on TikTok then said how many that they did. And some of these just went
so wild,
crazy.
Isn't it? The old world of TikTok.
Some had 300-400 views, and then some just went absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, you are a prime example, Craig, of how Property Elevator and the show can literally change lives.
Absolutely,
without sounding dramatic. It has really been a journey that you two have been on.
We're still sat here.
You're still sat here. You're still standing.
They're the deals that we've actually done. We've actually reviewed hundreds.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that we can literally review, just do quick comparables. I remember somebody sent us a potential deal in Portsmouth, and it was 16,000 square feet. And in 12 minutes, I then sent back to the person it wasn't going to work. And you're like, but you've worked out the GDV, you've worked out how many flats you're going to do, you did all these things, what the build cost was going to be. Yeah. So
there's so many that you can offer on, there's so many you can analyse, right? And then the amount that actually go through to completion is
the trick
so
is
small.
You want to be as quick as possible to get to know. That's not KNOW, that's NO,
Yeah. So you can move on,
you can move on and then go, that's going to work, that's not going to work, And then if the numbers look interesting, then we'll go and do a site visit, and then we'll then compare and then say, well, actually the build cost is going to be a bit more on here because there's structural issues or whatever.
Yeah.
But we looked at things like the Royal British Legion in High Wycombe. We looked at lots and lots of care homes, because Nick's experience is looking at lots of commercial conversions, offices, and particularly care homes. And care homes is we did a lot of those. But it's a really niche market because, who knows what to do with a 47-bed care home? Yeah. They're far too big for the majority of people.
We do. We're the UK's
if anybody out there has got any care homes, we can work in partnership with people that own care homes, and we can then uplift the value doing an assisted sale.
Yep.
And there's lots of different output strategies. One is finishing it off as a care home. One is converting it to a hotel, because the physical design of a care home and a hotel are identical. The only thing that's different is the business class use.
Yeah.
So it's C2 for care homes, and it's C1 for hotels. But one of the neat things is if you develop it as a care home, there's 0 VAT on care home conversions, where there's 20% VAT on hotels. So this is the trick. We know the tricks of the trade.
Craig, I mean, we could go on for 3 hours today and you would still be able to tell us more.
We'll do a whole series.
You have a black book as big as an encyclopedia, I think. But it's been absolutely fab having you on today and chatting to you. The success from going from however many no's at the beginning to now 3 developments, completions together, with clearly a lot more in the pipeline. Yeah. I wish you all the best. Yeah. Very excited to watch the progress on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. And we hope you've enjoyed that episode. Make sure you follow the guys across socials if you want to see more about their journey and for the completion, which I'm praying happens for you this week. Good luck.
It will.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.